Hello, thanks for joining us today for Nate's Art Lab collab. This month our theme is a blowout, and I am using some paints that I had created some colors earlier for a commission, and I just wanted to review those with you. This is metallic white from Artist Loft. This is phthalo green. This is a combination of phthalo green and phthalo blue. And I have no idea what else. Maybe some Payne's Gray. Deco Art Champagne. This is Artist Loft Cobalt Blue. And here is the original color. I don't know if you can see how blue that is. So I added to it some metallic white and some golden fluid cadmium yellow to get it to be a little greener and lighter in tone, but I wanted it metallic. And then our last color is this, it's an equivalent to the golden cobalt teal, but I've kind of stopped buying like specific colors from companies, because what happens is you end up with 18 different shades of greens or blue or whatever. And I'm starting to mix my own colors. So this looks like cobalt teal from golden, but it is in fact not. It is a mix of phthalo blue, phthalo green, and probably some Payne's Gray. So, other than phthalo blue, phthalo green, and this deco art, these colors are custom mixed. And I like to do that because I really am just tired of waiting for a color to come in the mail or having to go to Michael's and look for a color. And I think it's really important when you are creating to keep the trend of creating as long as you can. And if you have to stop because you don't have a color or something like that, for me, it really interrupts my momentum. It also, I don't get a lot of full days to create in the studio because I am teaching a lot and I'm in a lot of art shows this time of year. So, I just like to keep going when I have the opportunity to create. And I have learned to make a lot of my own paint colors. Now, the downside to that is if you don't write down what you did, then when you have someone who wants that same paint color, you have a guessing game going on. So often I just turn my recorder on and while I'm mixing paint colors, so that later, if I am not sure what I did, then I have a reference. Also, I forgot, because this is still on the other side of the studio, I'm also using Indigo by Amsterdam. And I did buy this specifically because I want to compare it to some other dark blues, and that video will be coming up soon. Okay, so let me set myself up here. We're going to be doing a blowout, kind of a chaos style, I guess, on this Lazy Susan, and we'll be using this color, this cobalt teal, or whatever color it is. My daughter likes to call it Baja Blue. We will use this as our base coat. All right, I'll see you in a few minutes. Okay, so let's get this going. I am going to put my base coat on the portion that I want to stay negative space. And it's really important to tilt that off, because once you blow out your colors, you really don't want to be trying to tilt off areas. It will distort your composition. And these paints are barely making a stream in the cup of paint. And I'm sorry I didn't show you the consistency, but they're fairly thin. And so I'm tilting as much of that base coat off as I can so that it doesn't distort the composition after I blow things out. This is the custom mix color, which I know I kept calling it cobalt teal, but it's actually like the golden turquoise phthalo is the color I was trying to match. And then once I tilt that base coat off, I start laying down my colors, and you can see I'm picking out some things. This batch of Floetrol had like the craziest stuff that even though I strained it, it still had these tiny little particles of white, which drove me crazy. So I'm just laying down the phthalo green and some of those custom colors here, trying to keep my lighter metallic, I don't even know what to call that color. It looks like sea glass TLP. I want to keep that near the edge of that negative space because it will help lighten things up. And then staying a little conservative with the phthalo green and the champagne. And I added the metallic white just to give some contrast. Okay, so I'm pausing here for a minute because I want to show you that I still have some open spaces in the area of my chaos. And this is something I have really tried to cultivate, because so often when people do a blowout, they end up with too much paint. And I think you have to resist the temptation to cover every speck of canvas, or in this case wood, because you will cover it as you blow around the paint. But for me, it was really difficult to leave space, and that was the only way I could get myself to stop adding so much paint. So I just we're gonna start blowing this out, and I'm gonna blow it out in real time. This is my Drew Barrymore Blossom hair dryer. Look how paint soaked and caked up it is. It is really Canella Sirocco would be really disappointed in how I got the paint all over it. Okay, and I'm just taking my time. I think when you're blowing out, it's important to really think about and plan where you point your hair dryer. Obviously I'm trying to cover the sides as well. So my focus here is to do a very abstract composition, really paying attention to where I meet that negative space, and also ensure that I cover those blank spots. And because this is a Lazy Susan, there's a curved edge, so it actually curves down. It's a little challenging sometimes to get that completely covered, especially when you're trying to be conservative with how much paint you're using. And this is one of the biggest challenges of a blowout for me. I know I talked about leaving some blank spots on the surface to resist the temptation to use too much paint, and that truly is the only thing I have found that has helped me with that. I do spin it a few times at the end, but I'm really doing that just to try to expand the paint over the side more than I am anything else. And this was an interesting size, it's an 18-inch Lazy Susan, but it was an interesting process to do this blowout on a Lazy Susan and intentionally leave negative space. I'm used to covering all of it with, paint or design. So it was a twofold challenge, not getting too much paint and leaving some negative space there. Here is the close-up. I just love these colors, the way they came together. I was a little worried about using the champagne, but it really brought just the right tone. I'll probably do some blowing or maybe even a little bit of a swipe there, but and even in this one spot that didn't get fully covered by color, there's some beautiful lacing there with that metallic white, so I'm leaving that alone. Also, something I wanted to share is one of the ways I fix my edges. So especially on a Lazy Susan, it doesn't always go all the way down the side. So I just kind of bring in my finger and I scoop up paint that's near it, the right color, and then just kiss up to that edge so that the paint will start pulling it down. I think I've fixed most of these edges, so sorry, I'm trying to hold the phone and do this at the same time. It's a little challenging. So see there, it didn't quite make it all the way over the edge. So I'm just double checking. I'm not worried about that tape. That tape will end up coming off before I do anything else. There's one spot. See how I just kind of kiss it with the wet paint and then let it work its way around. My Floetrol has got, like, even though I strained it, it has these little tiny particles in it. It's crazy. I've never had that happen. All right, so this beauty is going to dry, and then we'll see what it looks like with some resin on it. Thanks.